welcome everybody to summer. Starting to feel like summer. Summer 2023 orientation. So we'll do several things today. First thing we'll do is do some introductions so that you have a chance to put a name with some faces. And so we'll go ahead and start in the room, and I'll go first and then we'll just go around. So I'm Lynn Sullenberger, I'm graduate coordinator, and I'll talk a little bit more about what that means as we go along, but for now, that's good now.
I'm Amber, I'm a master's student, and I'm here as the Agronomy Graduate Student Association representative.
I'm Gopal Kakani, chair of the Agronomy department.
My name is Paolo Patelevich. I'm the assistant professor in the agronomy department of sweet science, and I just want to learn a little bit more helpful, like I said, probably more time.
Myself is Patsum. I completed my graduation and master from Punjab Agriculture University. Now joined PhD with Dr. Digo Harkren.
My name is Michael Joseph, just making some Gainesville, and I'm a graduate student of Chicago, with science.
Emily Sharkey, I just finished my graduate certificate, moving into the master's, I work for DPI, so I'm excited to be here.
I'm Rose Flanagan. I help coordinate the agronomy, the master's degree in agronomy with a concentration in agriculture.
And I'm Lorraine White. I'm the academic coordinator for the graduate programs for the agronomy.
That. So go ahead, Hanan.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Renan. I'm an agronomist here from Brazil. I'm starting my master's now with Dr. Marcelo Valal.
Thank you. Go ahead and Kim.
Hello, everyone.
Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Oh, okay. I'm Kem from Nigeria. I'm a doctorate student here in agronomy and cropping systems, but I'm at the West Florida Research and Education Center in Milton, J. So,
Very good. Thank you and welcome.
thank you.
Okay, so next on the agenda, we'll give Dr. Kakani an opportunity to provide a welcome from the chair. So Dr. Kakani, turn it to you.
Yep. Good afternoon, everyone. So pleasure to have you in the agronomy department. Welcome. I think some of you have already been here and you know the department. So IFAS and agronomy have a long history, and IFAS ranks #1 in terms of the research spending. If you're doing research, that's a good thing to know. There's a lot of research around the campus that's related to IFAS that you can get involved in. And the agronomy department also ranks in the top 5 in the country. And that's something that you can cherish, having graduated from here. So, and that brings lots of opportunities. So my advice is explore, learn, and put to use. There's a lot of buzz in the AI related field, artificial intelligence applications to agriculture. I don't know how many of you will be doing that, but there's a lot of faculty that's involved in that area. And so there are plenty of opportunities to explore here, okay? And I think you're in pretty good hands here with Dr. Sullenberger, Lauren White, and Rose that can help you to tread the difficult path of graduate school. I wouldn't say difficult, but if you make it difficult, it's difficult, but if you enjoy it, it's a smooth path. So put your hard work and enjoy the time here. Okay, and then welcome to agronomy.
Thanks.
Very good. Thank you, Dr. Kakani. I'm going to roles you and should be able. You're going to have to share to be.
Share screen.
Yeah, you You may need to minimize, well, there you go. Now you should, if you cursor up. There you go. Now you got share. I can help you if you want. I mean, I've done a fair bit
Oh, there it is.
of this with my teaching activities, so. You know. Yeah. Pause these folks for a minute.
Hi everyone, I'm Amber. I'm here at the Agronomy Graduate Student Association. And what we do, we host a lot of social activities, network and professional development events, and we're kind of a liaison between agronomy graduate students and UF administration and student government. So if you want to make friends with other graduate students, maybe pick up some new skills from professional development events, then it's really important to get involved with AGSA. And our leadership for next year, I'm going to be the president, and then we also have officers both at rec centers and in person in Gainesville. And a lot of our events will have in person and also through Zoom, so people at rec centers can participate. And these are examples of some past AGSA activities that we've had. We had a South Florida farm tour where some people from Gainesville went down and got to see the E-Rec Center. We also had a homecoming tailgate. We have coffee and donuts at GVM sometimes. One time we had an art workshop, different professional and alumni panels, general body meetings, and collaborations with other student organizations. Especially, I feel like we do a lot of collaborative events with the animal science department. And these are our social media and our emails, so please connect with us. And if you have any questions about how to get involved with AGSA or you want more information, you can email agronomygrads@gmail.com. And that's it.
Very good. Thank you. One of the challenges that you have, well, so we have faculty and the result graduate students all over the state of Florida. So that creates significant geographic barriers. And even on campus, or in the Gainesville area, I should say, as Amber's actually located at an aquatic invasives center, which is just kind of on the north side of Gainesville off of 53rd Avenue. So she's actually not on campus, and even on campus, we have people in multiple buildings, and so it's somewhat challenging to make those connections. And an organization like AGSA gives you an opportunity and an excuse to kind of get together with a broad range of graduate students on the campus. So I encourage you to be involved with AGSA if you can. So you good?
I'm good, thank you.
All right, thanks very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Okay, so let's just launch with a few general comments. First of all, so this is meant to be very informal. This is not a formal lecture or anything like that. This is just an informal meeting, and you should feel comfortable in interrupting at any time, asking questions at any time. Something you don't understand, you have no clue what I just said or what one of us just said, just something to get our attention, and we'll be happy to make it more clear. We can't. Well, so what we're trying to do is get you off to a successful launch of your graduate program here. We'll talk about things that go well beyond the launch phase, maybe into orbit, perhaps, I don't know, but beyond the launch phase. But we understand that, you won't remember all of those details, so we won't go through every excruciating detail that you need to know throughout your program, but we'll point you to resources. The graduate student handbook, which we'll spend some time looking at, is one of those resources. Lorraine is an excellent resource. Rose and I also serve as resources. So just to give you a little bit of an idea of kind of our division of labor and who might be the logical point of contact. So as graduate coordinator, I have a number of hats, but one of the roles that I serve once you're already here. There are things that I do before you get here, but you're here now, so we don't need to go over those. But one of the things I do here is effectively serve something like an ombudsman for you, meaning that if you are having any kind of issues in your graduate program, whether that be with an instructor, whether it be with a fellow graduate student, your major professor, whatever, an issue that you're finding to be a challenge to your ability to succeed in your role as a graduate student. It's my kind of role and privilege to be a sounding board for you. So you can feel free at any time to come see me. It works generally easier for all of us if you send me an email or whatever and schedule a time. But if you really need to see somebody, just knock on my door. And if I'm there, I'll be happy to visit with you. So that's one of the roles of the graduate coordinator. I am also, it is the intent that I know quite a bit about the graduate program. And so it depends on the day, whether I feel like I know a lot or not so much. But the graduate program has more rules than you can possibly imagine. And so there are tons of details. And we don't expect graduate students to be able to figure out all of those details. And I can tell you up front that your advisor won't know many of them because they simply don't. I'm not casting any shade or aspersions on your advisors. It's simply, they just don't deal with that stuff on a day-to-day basis. So they have no reason to know all of those gory details. So Lorraine and Rose and Rose is particularly targeting those students who are in the agroecology concentration. And so she would be effectively serving in the coordinating role. I serve as graduate coordinator for primarily non-agroecology students. Rose would serve in that role for agroecology students. And then Lorraine, bless her soul, she takes care of all of you. And very well, may I add. So we really appreciate Lorraine. So Lorraine handles a lot of your day-to-day issues, registration, if you're on an assistantship, tuition waivers, just general questions about, I have no clue what I should be doing about this issue. Can you help me? So Lorraine either knows the answer or knows who to ask to get the answer. So in our roles, our job is to serve you as graduate students. Okay. So, sometimes people walk into my office and they say, well, Dr. Summer, I know you're really busy and I'm sorry to bother you. Well, no, that's not the appropriate response, because our job, current construct, is to provide that service to you. So you don't hesitate to ask, you come see us, and it's our job to figure out an answer to your question. So never hesitate to ask. And in fact, generally it saves us time if you ask sooner rather than later.
Yes.
It's generally those asking later situations that require many hours of our time to correct an issue that could have been handled very easily earlier on. All right. You guys have anything else you want to throw into that description?
Only thing I would say is sometimes that delay of answering a question comes from maybe get into the habit of using your UFL email. I know a lot of people have Gmails and other kinds of email. UF will never use those. They will not be contacting you via Gmail. So make UFL either your primary source of communication via email, or if you don't want to do that, make sure you visit it at least once a day, preferably more. Because officially, you know, if there's something that's missing in your registration or something's missing in your record, there is an email or the deadline for insurance. So it won't only cost us time, it may eventually cost you money. Because, for example, with insurance, if you don't sign up during the period you're allowed to sign up when you're on assistantship, you lose that opportunity till the next semester and you will have to pay out of pocket. So there are things that have costs, and just learn to utilize that so that it doesn't only cost us time, it also saves you time and money, and you maybe are able to answer your own questions. So get in that habit of being, you know, independent and proactive on that, and you should be fine. That's my only advice.
Yes. Just to piggyback a little bit on what she said, yes, please pay attention to your emails. And like she said, use your UFL, because you're gonna get a lot of emails. I send a lot of emails about registration deadlines. So when registration starts, and the further along you get in the program, there's different things that you're gonna have to be doing each time. And I try to stay on top of sending you guys emails about this so that you'll know when deadlines are coming, so that you can, you know, kind of keep me on my toes about it, and I kind of keep you guys on your toes. So we're kind of working together to making sure that you meet these deadlines, because a lot of these deadlines that you have in going through the program as a graduate student, there is, after that deadline, there's nothing you can do about it. That you miss the time, like if you don't do a degree application or something about a deadline date, or you get your dissertation in on a deadline date when it's coming up to graduation, you're kind of just stuck in that point and going into the next semester. So please do read your emails, and please read them thoroughly as to what's in that email and what needs to be done. And if you have any questions, please let me or let us know if you have any questions about anything or whatever. Okay.
And something that I say at each of these is that for those of you who already have a graduate degree or who have been in a graduate situation, then this is not new to you, but graduate school is a very different sort of endeavor than an undergraduate program. In an undergraduate program, you typically have a prescribed curriculum that you follow, and you know what you're going to be taking every semester because you're told that that's what you're going to be taking. Within the graduate context, every program is unique. There is no standard. Now, in agroecology, it is more prescribed than if you are not in the agroecology concentration, but you still really need to make sure that you're following the track and figuring out when classes are offered and when they fit into your schedule, so that you don't get to, okay, I want to finish next semester, but the course I need to take yet, you know, isn't offered this year or whatever. So the bottom line is that you need to now assume responsibilities for your program. We have, within the graduate program, we have about 80 students, okay, 80. And we can't, you know, it's not like mom and dad with 2 kids who knows everybody's schedule and where they need to be every moment. No, there are too many of you. So between you and your advisor, you have to be responsible for knowing and advancing your program. And the thing I always say to graduate students is, and my former students will tell me down the road after they graduate that we had no clue when we were in graduate school how many things you had to manage. And it's true. As a graduate student, there's a bit of a curtain there, and you can't necessarily see behind it. But your major professor, your advisor, has a ton of things to do. We'd like to think that you're the apple of their eye and you're the primary focus of their life, but you're an important part. But no, they have tons of those things. So why do I say that? I say that because you need to advocate for time when you need time. You need to know what the milestones are for your graduate program. You need to engage your major advisor in conversations about those milestones. And quite frankly, many of our faculty may not know what those milestones are, or may not think about them because they have so many other things going on. So if you're waiting for Lorraine or me to tell you every time you need to take a breath, you're not going to make it. Okay. And if you're waiting for your major advisor to tell you every time you need to move, not going to work. You have to advocate for yourself. It's your program. It's your life. You need to step up and make it happen. Okay. I also mentioned typically that, we often have, and today is no different. We often have students representing many different cultures. Okay. And so if you've not been in this environment in the US before, it can be a bit of a shock to the system, and you try to figure out these crazy Americans. Okay. And so part of this process is trying to understand how the American academic context works. And it may be very different than the one that you experienced prior to being here. And so one of the challenges that many of our students have is, okay, I come from this culture where it is extremely important to be respectful of, my professor, my advisor, and there are some things that, I wouldn't want to challenge that person, or I wouldn't necessarily want to ask them a question maybe. But so it's a little bit of an adjustment to figure out how we kind of roll using the vernacular in this system. But faculty within the US context are going to expect you to advocate for your program, advocate for time when you need time from the faculty member, when you need their advice in terms of selecting a committee or a variety of things. Okay, so talk to some of your graduate student colleagues and say, okay, I have no clue how these Americans work. Can you help me? Or I'm thinking I might do this. Would that be appropriate? So don't be afraid to ask that question. We're not as rigid, I would say, as some cultures, and in terms of that kind of advisor-student relationship, there's a lot more give and take. So, kind of sort that out, figure it out. But we do expect the student to be very involved in advocating for the program. All right. Okay. Any questions? We haven't talked about much other than just big picture philosophy kinds of things, but any questions up to this point? Okay, I think we're going to jump in. And if you guys, you know by now, if you have anything to say, you just jump right in and go for it. All right.
Question?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, first of all, sorry, I kind of joined late. I would first of all like to see Lauren White. I can't really picture out who's Lauren White.
Okay.
I think you're gonna, like,
Yep.
Can I see?
Sorry.
Can they
Thank
see?
you.
It has to do with where she's sitting them.
Now, I can move the camera, Lorraine, so I was just checking to see, I don't, the handbook isn't showing up there. Okay, yeah, thank you. We'll get Lorraine in here and we'll zoom out.
This is Lorraine.
We'll zoom out, see what you can see. Thank you.
Okay,
for reminding me.
great. Yeah, nice to finally see you, Lauren White.
There you go.
Yes.
Thanks for coming.
Because my inbox has been filled with tons of your mail, so I just wanted to know who actually Lauren White is, but I'm glad I've gotten that overboard. Now, I would like to ask this question because now I'm not in Gainesville. I'm not in Gainesville. We here in J, there's so many things we are handicapped of doing. For instance, if we're in Gainesville, could easily go into the Students Medical Center, get immunization done, so we could get that out of our hold, and so many other things we could do if we're on campus. But we here in J, we are kind of limited with the things we need to do. And I don't know what's the provision. Is there any kind of provision to always attend to most of our needs? Because, for instance, right now, I had to face the issue of immunization, because my registration was on hold because I couldn't do that. And I could imagine if I was in Gainesville, I could easily have just walked into the student center and get that done easily. And then also, of course, with the issues of the GATO card, the medical health insurance for us, for me, that has an assistantship and all, it's always not easy. We always have to make calls, send tons of emails, copy this, copy that. So I don't know what's the program, what's in place to sort out, because it's becoming a big issue for us here. So I figured I should really ask that because it's really disturbing us here.
Okay, as far as immunizations, if you can contact me, I can call the health compliance office. And then basically I just did one for Michael Lee this afternoon. I called them and I got a temporarily hold for a certain amount of days. They take the hold off so that I'll be able to go ahead and register you. As far as the insurance, and this is for everybody, all the GAs, you have 60 days from the time of hire to enroll in the insurance. But the thing is, if you're not hired in the UF system yet, you can't enroll. So basically, we just need to find out when you're in the UF system, and then once you're in there, you will be able to go ahead and enroll. But what I'm going to suggest to everybody, if you think you haven't gotten anything from our HR department saying that you've been hired, I can send you the information of the GA benefits office. You want to go ahead and call them and let them know that you have not been hired in the UF system yet. And what they would do is work with you, I guess, too. They can put like a deferment on that insurance so that you guys won't get charged that extreme amount for the insurance that's coming up. But I can send that. What I'll do is either today, later this afternoon, hopefully, if not by Monday, I'll just send you all an email with all of that information in there, with the email address of the GA benefits office and also their telephone number where you can call and talk to them and about the insurance that's there. Any other holes that you may have out there, they're just general student holes that you as a student have to go out yourself and do to get those holes eliminated. But I can also, which I did with Michael this afternoon, if you don't know how to go into the UF system and see the holes and know how to remove the holes, I have an instruction sheet that I can send you also that will walk you through the process of removing all the holes that you need to have moved for me to register you. Did that answer your question?
I think it partially answered, but I think he was talking more about like if he needs to, and correct me if I'm wrong. Do you say Nikim? Is that Okay,
It's Nkem,
Nkem,
Joseph, but
Nkem,
yeah, I
Okay.
prefer Nkem though.
okay, Nkem, I think you're asking access to where do you get immunizations? So it's the resources that if you are on campus,
Yeah.
we would send you over to the student health center. Again, you don't have to disclose personal health information to the group. That's not something I want to ask, nor should I. But do you have, so you don't yet have health care insurance, is that correct?
Yes, I don't.
Okay, so, but you need immunizations to be able to register for classes and actually to be an official sort of student, correct?
Yes, but thankfully, I've been able to work with Lorraine and my supervisor and Michelle over here, which I'm sure Lorraine knows, be able to like waive that for a while I could get my registration done. But those immunizations has to be done, like it has to be done. So I'm looking.
So for most immunizations, you can ask the director at your center and others. You can get those immunizations typically at a local pharmacy. You know, most pharmacies now you can walk in and get them. You just need your insurance and to confirm that the insurance you would get as a student would cover the cost. It may make sense to talk to your major professor to see if you can come to Gainesville once you have, once you set that up to get your immunizations here, if that's what you prefer, if you have other business that you want to do on campus. You know, so that really, you have to rely on your center director there and your major professor at those centers to help you navigate, you know, like transportation and those kinds of things, because yeah, I know you're totally correct in terms of there's a big difference between students at research and education centers and the access that they have versus on campus. But you know, you should be getting that guidance hopefully and support on a local level. You are not the first student that has gone through a graduate program at Jay. So there is information there. I just don't know, you know, specifically what you're having challenges with. So communicate to Lorraine if I can help in any way. Happy to do that. That's just part of the nature of, like, as Lynn said, you know, we have students all over. That provides more opportunities for students to do research and to work with faculty and get funding. So that's the good part. The challenge is when you are dispersed and you have a centralized campus, some services are going to be really different. It's a different experience for the student in many different ways. Some of them is really beneficial because students at research and education center sometimes get a lot more practical applied one-on-one with their faculty because it's a smaller group, but there are definitely challenges.
So if I'm getting, sorry, I didn't catch your name.
Rose.
Rose,
Rose,
okay.
yeah.
Thank you very much, Rose. Thank you again, Lorraine. But if I'm getting you right, I want to understand. Does it mean it's okay for me to wait until my insurance before I could get those immunizations done? Because I would hate to have to, you know, foot the cost of it, because I almost did. I went to one of the local pharmacies here, CVS. I'm sure you're aware of those.
Yeah.
That, and the cost of the two immunization I was going to do were quite expensive. You know, so I want to be sure that I could actually wait until I get my insurance, then I could go back and get those immunizations done, because that would be much of a big relief for me, because it's going to be more expensive going all the way to Gainesville, you know, because I'm definitely have to lodge there, come there, lodge there. You know, I know it's going to be more. It's even much better if I even could pay for those immunizations here than traveling all the way to Gainesville. So that's.
What's that? I mean, he can get them, but it's the cost. I mean, that's where he's saying. So who puts you on assistantship? Is it someone at the Research and Education Center should be putting you on your assistantship, correct?
Correct. Dr. Habib sign.
But they,
Can we
we don't process.
Can we maybe deal with?
Yeah,
this
let's
issue
talk.
individually?
Yeah, let's talk later. Let's try to talk on, maybe Monday, because
Or-
we're gonna go, yeah,
I don't know
or.
if you want to just hang on at the end of the meeting.
Yeah, we'll try. I don't think it's very hard to solve something I know at 4 o'clock on a Friday, but we'll get it, we'll help you, we'll get it solved.
All right, looking forward to it. Thank you.
All right. Okay, so those of you online, you should be able to see the cover of the graduate student handbook. If you cannot, let us know, but it should be there. So what we're going to do, we don't read this to you. It's
We don't want to put you to sleep.
but we try to highlight some kind of important things that you need to be aware of. So before I jump into it, let me just say that for many students, when they start the first, well, and let me also say, so are you non-thesis? Okay, so one of the challenges we have is, so you have non-thesis MS, we have thesis MS, and we have PhD students, and you're all here together. And so some of this applies to some of you and some of it not. And so you just have to kind of bear with us as we walk through this. But one of the things that I think students often ask when they begin a graduate program, and what I would suggest is that your first semester, and for many students, not every student, but for many students, may be the least busy of all your semesters. For many of you, you don't have a research project started if you're doing a research degree. You're thinking about those things and so on, but there's a little bit of time that you're left wondering what to do with. And so what I encourage students to do is to think of some key milestones that they should be working on right away. And not all of these apply to a non-thesis student, but some of them do. So the first thing that someone who is doing an MS thesis or PhD program needs to do is to, in general, define the nature of the research program. So, and weed science, that's too broad. Okay, so it needs to be a little narrower than that, right? Okay. And then within that context, that allows you, once that has been defined, that allows you then to start thinking about these other things. What are the other things? All of you, thesis, non-thesis, whatever, you need a graduate committee. Okay. So for a non-thesis student, you would be considering who would serve on your committee. Dr. Koenig would help you in terms of identifying a lead advisor, but then you would have someone else on that committee as well. And part of that consideration would be, what are your general interests in terms of like a term project? And what do you expect to be doing after you complete your program here? And so that helps you to define who you might wish to have on your graduate committee. For those doing a research thesis or a PhD, once you define the research project, then that helps you to figure out which other faculty, in addition to your major professor, will complement the strengths of your major professor to help you execute your research program in the best possible way. So given then a definition of, at least a general definition of your research area, then you're prepared to identify your committee. And for the non-thesis, kind of your longer term interests, as well as what kind of project you might wish to do as that's your kind of degree project. Okay. At that point, then you are also ready to define your program of study. We'll talk about the Form 2, which is another name for the program of study. And basically what the program of study is a contract between you and your committee defining what classes you will take during the course of your graduate program. And it's very important to define that early in your program. So I would suggest, to the extent possible, that by the end of the first semester, it's to your advantage to have defined your committee and met with your committee to review a program of study. We won't get on your case significantly until partway through your second term. Because by then you need to really be making strides in this regard. Okay. So what are you going to do for your project or for your research program? Step one. Define who's going to serve on your committee. That's done in conjunction with your advisor, or if you don't yet have an advisor, in case of a non-thesis student, with Dr. Doney. Okay. Then you and your advisor work to define your program of study, your Form 2. And that's done in conjunction with your advisor. And typically you may want to talk to other students who have taken specific courses here to find out whether they're a good course, not as good a course. Okay. I'd like to say they're all great, but I'd be lying. So, you know, do your homework, find out what the best courses are. And then you package that in a program of study that your committee looks at and provides input. The last thing then, particularly for those of you in thesis or PhD programs, would be to initiate work on your research proposal. I will strongly advocate as graduate coordinator that whether you're in a non-thesis program or a thesis dissertation program, that you should provide a written proposal of either your project, your degree project, if you're a non-thesis student, or your research program, if you're a thesis or PhD student. This is an excellent opportunity to practice your scientific writing skills. It's an excellent opportunity to synthesize research. Part of that proposal should be literature review. You can't really do your research program as effectively as you should without having conducted a thorough literature review. So if I'm your advisor or I serve on your committee, which is probably unlikely for many of you, we don't really get very far until I see the research proposal. Okay. Gotta have it. Now I'll tell you up front that not all of your advisors will insist on it. I think it's a huge mistake if they don't. And I would tell them to their face that's a huge mistake. Because there are so many benefits of having prepared a research proposal. You familiarize yourself with the literature. You practice scientific writing. You have already written a large part of your introduction to your research program and some of your literature review and your materials amendments. So you've written 20% of your thesis or dissertation by the time you've submitted, maybe more, your research proposal. Your committee has a very clear idea of what your research program is going to look like, and they can give you very specific feedback. So instead of presenting this general kind of marshmallowy sort of vague idea of what your research program is going to be, they can look at it specifically and evaluate it like they would a journal article and say, no, time out. We got a problem here. We got to fix this. And in some cases, that may make or break your whole research program to get that kind of. So I'll stop at that, but just say that I think it's hugely important to prepare a research proposal. So quick review. Define your project, your research area. Get your committee appointed. Get your program of study defined and start working on your research proposal. So if you ever lack anything to do in your first semester, there's your list. Okay? Don't wait. All right, enough preaching for the day. I will step down off of my soapbox. All right, so we're gonna jump through and roll through the handbook. I should mention to all of you, if you need information on your, or you want to find the handbook, Google UF Agronomy, and then go to graduate students and current students. And then there's a list of resources. You have templates for committee appointment form. There's templates for your program of study. There are templates for your evaluations. There are templates for your exit interview whenever you graduate, and the handbook is there. So it's all there online at the departmental website. Yep. So we're gonna scroll down, table of contents. There's all kinds of information here. We're not gonna by any means go over all of it, but it's a very good resource. It's kind of like that website you always refer to that has information that you don't want to memorize, but that you need to know at times. Okay, so it's there. All right, I don't know exactly where I'm going to start, but let me just start here. And you guys know you can interrupt me at any time, right? So just jump right in there. And likewise with questions. Okay, those of you who are on assistantships, you are employees of the University of Florida. You work here. Okay? You may think you're just a student, but no. You're an employee. My employee record, I did my PhD here. My employee record in terms of years of service goes to the day I started my graduate degree program. Yeah, so you are employees. Okay. There's some information here about holidays, personal leave, vacation. So you do have some opportunities in that regard, but they are always, as you would in any kind of work situation, they're discussed with, in this case, your advisor, who is your boss. Okay, so acquaint yourself with those things and take advantage. All right. Let's see. We're going to move through those things without stopping. Program areas for specialization in agronomy. You most likely know where you fit in that mix. We don't need to go over those. I will stop eventually. All right. This is a good place to stop. I say this every semester, but I've had a couple of issues recently. That means that you're going to get it full bore. Your first semester, don't mess around with your coursework. Get good grades. Get good grades. Because if you don't, then it's a problem. It's a problem. It's a hassle for us. It's a problem for you. Because the graduate school does not want students to be here on assistantship who have a GPA of less than 3.0 B. So get a 3.8, get a 4 point your first semester, and then just relax a little bit. Otherwise, Lorraine and I are filing petitions and groveling to the graduate school so that you're allowed to stay here. Okay, they will kick you out. Okay, they will. So 3.0, and don't just get a 3.0 because my oldest son, his philosophy of academic pursuits was do the least amount of work he could possibly do to get the grade that he wanted. Unfortunately, he didn't estimate very well, and sometimes he came up short. So if you're like my oldest son, you could be in trouble. All right. So is that clear? We need a 3.6, 3.8. Okay. None of this 3.1 stuff, but a 2.8. Then you're going to get to know Lorraine and me really well. And the graduate school is going to know your name, and you're going to show up on a list on my computer. And it's not good, okay? So, first semester,
So I wanted to, I appreciate what Lynn said. But sometimes life doesn't kind of go as you expect, right? And the key there is communication, right? So if you know you're having an issue in your class during, or say, it's really important that first week of class when you're in what they call the drop ad period, right? Get into a class, you know, you don't even understand what the faculty member is saying because, and they're talking, or you look at the syllabus and you don't understand any of the terms because it's very highly technical and you realize this is above my competency at this point in my career. That's fine. You drop the class and we find another class that's more suitable. That is why there's a drop ad period. Or you say after this, I've signed up for like 3 really hard classes. Maybe I should kind of spend some time doing what Dr. Sollenberger says and work on that research proposal for 3 credits so that it can study and take two courses. So drop ad is the first place where you have an opportunity to sort of get out of things that you may not really be qualified to be in or you don't feel comfortable in. If you continue in a course and you are getting below the B, I mean, that is the time. Don't wait until, you know, if you're coming and you're just saying, I've got an 89, I'm concerned. We're going to say, just continue, you know, come back, make sure you do your assignments, make sure you talk to your faculty member, keep track of your grades in Canvas. But if you start really feeling like you're getting a C and you're not feeling like you're going to be able to pull it up, you can withdraw from the class, a W. That's not ideal. There's some issues associated with that. But sometimes it's the best option because it's gonna, we can put things in, you can get sometimes a medical withdrawal and it doesn't hurt you. So we've got to look into sort of your status and where you are as a student and see if we can recommend that as a possibility. Sometimes it is the best possibility. The other thing is if you've completed most of, and this will happen because I've seen it this semester, particularly from it's really students who are just, it may not be in their lives, it may be in their families' lives in places where there are things going on that is beyond their control. You get into a course and you're doing the work and you're doing fine, but something happens in your family or in your personal life or however, and you're just not paying attention, you're not at your best. You can do a thing called an incomplete. You go to your faculty member and say, you know, just like that, I attended all my classes, I've kept up on the work, here's my proof. I'm doing well in your class, I'm passing, but you know what, I've got a final exam and a paper due, and this is going on in my life, will you give me an incomplete? You know, so that is a possibility. It just gives you an I, there's no GPA penalty, you have to finish that course in the next semester, and you don't want to like use that as a pattern or as a habit. But that's another way rather than thinking you can do more than you really can. So I guess what I'm trying to say is that yeah, you can wait till the grades are due, but if you see problems, that's where you have to start to communicate it. Everyone goes through it. You don't have to like take the high road and think I'm going to overcome all these things, because inevitably a lot of times students don't, and then they get into this problem where they're under, you know, so communication is so key. And nobody, well, let's put it this way, if anyone gives you a hard time when you disclose that you're having any kind of issue, that's the time to go to Dr. Sollenberger, because you know our role here is you have been accepted into the program because we believe and we have confidence that you're going to be successful. If you're not successful, we need to try to figure out how we can help you be successful, not to blame it or so. That's what Dr. Sollenberger's role really is. So certainly the first person to communicate might be your major professor, it might be the person who's teaching the course, but if you find like you're not getting the kind of response that's supportive of you, that's where you can get others involved.
Life happens.
Life happens.
That's reality. And yeah, it's really important to communicate with us and see if there are options, because you may not be aware of all the options. So often there are options, but so you know, that 3.0, you know, if you fall below a 3.0, but you're not too far below a 3.0, then we can petition to keep you on an assistantship. But we have to have a plan in that petition for how you're going to get to a 3.0. So it, again, we like to avoid that. It's not, it's not the kiss of death if you get a 2.9, but if you can avoid that, that makes your life just so much less tense. Okay, moving along. One thing to know here is that at graduate school, a C grade is the lowest passing grade. If you get a C minus, you have failed the course. You do not get credit for it. Okay. Now a C is a 2.0, which is a problem in terms of your overall GPA, but it can count toward the 30 credits you need for a master's or the 90 credits after an undergraduate degree that you need for a PhD. That hopefully you can balance out with some A's, right? But if you get a C minus, you automatically fail the course. There's nothing you can do about it. And that failure doesn't go away. It stays on your transcript. So if you need that course, you can take it again, but that C minus stays. Okay, or D or whatever it was, that stays. So keep that in mind. And there's information here about incompletes and so on.
And I just want to add something to incompletes. We don't want you guys, we can help it with you doing incompletes, but if you have an incomplete out there and you have an incomplete, you want to make sure that because when it comes time to graduate, and if that incomplete has not been changed from an I to a grade, letter grade, you won't be allowed to graduate until that's done. So if there is an incomplete, you need to work with your professor that gave that incomplete to you and make sure that that I gets cleared up, especially before time to graduate. You won't be allowed to graduate with the incomplete on your record. Okay.
Next term, yep, get it cleared away. Let's see, if you are receiving departmental award funding, which some of you are, you'll be asked to serve as a TA for one class per academic year during the course of your program here. And there's information here in the handbook. I try to remember to send an email reminder to all TAs, but before you serve as a TA the first time, there are 2 trainings that you need to take. They're online trainings. They're not a huge deal. That information is there. Okay, we don't go through all of that. Research credit enrollment. One thing to keep in mind is that a graduate program, if you're used to, as an undergraduate, taking 5 classes, we don't do that in a graduate context. You're typically taking 0, 1, or 2, some rarely 3, but occasionally 3 classes at a time. And then the remainder, if you're on an assistantship, you're registering for 9 credits in the spring and fall and 6 credits in the summer. That's just a given. And you fill out the rest of those credits with research hours. Okay, so if you're a master's student, those research hours are AGR 6971 with your research for master's thesis. If you are beginning a PhD program and have not taken the qualifying exam, it's AGR 7979 advanced research. If you've already passed your qualifying exam in a PhD program, it's AGR 7980 research for doctoral dissertation. Okay. So you don't need to take 9 credits of classwork. You take whatever the appropriate number of classes are, and then you fill in the remainder of the hours with research credits. One thing to keep in mind if you're a master's student is that no more than 6 credits of AGR 6971 can count toward your 30. We'll see that again in a little bit. Everybody gives a seminar, regardless of the degree program, that currently is given at the time of your defense. If you are a master's or PhD master's thesis or PhD student. If you are a non-thesis student, it is also at the time of your final exam and is given in conjunction with your final exam. So you typically give a seminar that describes your overall degree project, and then your committee will ask you questions about your degree project. So everybody gives a seminar currently is that policy at the end of your program. Okay. Here's the information on loads. Again, so in agroecology, you're taking however many credits you wish to take at a particular time. Those of you who are on assistantship, again, we've got the 9-9-6 rule, 9 in the fall, 9 in the spring, 6 in the summer. Okay, and that's a given. Your tuition waiver covers that number of credits.
And just to make it clear to Emily, so because you're part-time, that's why the minimum is 3.
Yep.
And then for students in the agroecology program, if there's a semester where you're working and you just can't take a course, you can just not, let us know, but you don't have to
Okay.
register. But after you miss, like, I think it's 1 semester of not registering, you have to reapply. So just to keep a note on that it's not required. Most students want to, so they can just progress.
Right, yeah, awesome, thank you.
Okay, one thing to keep in mind for those of you who are on assistantship, there are fees. Okay, so you have a tuition waiver, which your tuition is covered by someone, your advisor, college, whatever, however that has worked out for you. But you are responsible for fees, and those fees, this is the price. If you are on main campus, it's basically $82 a credit. So over the course, you multiply 82 times 24, and that's your total expectation of what it's going to cost you per year, right? So you are fee liable. If you are an REC, yes, there are some disadvantages, but
Yeah, that was one of the ones I was thinking.
there are some advantages, Kim. And specifically in this case, your fees are less because you're not, getting a free bus pass. And so, if you have, when you have a Gator One card, you have free bus service in Gainesville. You just show your card and you're good to go. Okay. And so some of those kinds of issues are covered by these fees. Lorraine, would you like to comment about the whole tuition, fees, payment, deadline
Okay.
kind of thing?
Fees for summer is actually going to be due May 26th. So those fees that you have to pay, you need to get those paid by May 26th, that amount. Those of you who are on tuition waivers, I won't start entering your tuition waivers until after the drop add period, because I do that to make sure you're not dropping or adding something different within for the summer 6 credits that you need to be registered for or whatever. So if you're already registered, please make sure you know that's what you want to register for in those 6 credits, so that I'll be able to go in and enter your tuition waivers. But your fees, that fee part that he was talking about, all of you have to pay that by May 26th. Okay. And if you don't, and in the fees on that, if you don't have the total amount of fees that you need to pay, just pay something. Just pay something toward the fees, and that will keep you clear for getting that late charge add out there on you, that $100 late charge that they will charge you.
So
Okay.
the May 26th is not a deadline for the entire amount. Is that correct?
Not for students
Students
that
who are
don't
on an
on
assistantship.
assistantships, but if you're not on an assistantship, Yes, that's the deadline for everything
whatever you.
on May
whatever you,
26th, whatever you owe.
Okay.
So it's two different ways. If you're on an assistantship, you don't have to worry about the tuition, but you need to pay something towards your fees. If you're not on an assistantship, you need to pay the entire amount of your fees.
By
Or
something.
or something that you need, that just pay something towards that so that you won't get charged that $100 late fee or anything like that to your record.
By something, it could be $10 or $20.
$5, whatever it may be, just pay that.
But then there is an actual deadline for full fee payment. Correct?
Yeah, which is,
Question, please.
Yes.
Sorry, Lorraine, if I'm getting you right, as an assistant, someone that is on assistantship, are you saying I still have to pay something?
yes, your fees. The transportation fees and that amount that you are, even though you're on an assistantship, you're still required to pay those extra fees, not the tuition, but those extra fees that you're getting charged.
So, and Kim, if you look at the screen, you can see this line that says research and education centers. So for summer, your fee total will be 6 times that number, so $340 more or less. And what Lorraine is saying is that by the 26th of May, you should log into your account and pay some small amount of money at minimum, you know, $5 or $10 or whatever you want to pay there. But then by the fee payment deadline, which I don't know when that is, you would be responsible for paying that full amount of fees. Now, I'll give you a chance to follow up, but let me just make one point before I do that. And that is that if you go into look at your financial record before your tuition waiver is entered, your bill will show the full amount of tuition plus fees. Okay, which will be a very scary number. Okay,
Very big.
so just relax. I mean, you know that if you're in Gainesville and you're on an assistantship, the amount that you're going to owe this summer is 6 times $81.96. That's what you're going to owe. Okay. If you're in an REC, it's going to be 6 times $56.71. That's what you're going to owe. But as a new student, the tuition waivers don't get into the system right away. And so
I have until, because I'm the one that's putting all those graduate assistantships in for everyone. So we have until July 21st for all tuition waivers to be inputted into the system. So you'll still have that fee out there before you see that your tuition has been paid. So it's like I'm chugging along, trying to get everybody in there by that July 21st deadline. Okay?
So for the first 2 months of the summer, you may see a very big number in there, which means your tuition waiver has not cleared yet. But you know what you're responsible for. Okay, exclusively the fees. Okay, again, did we address any questions that you had, or do you have more?
Okay, well, I'm a little bit, I don't know, I'm having a dilemma trying to figure out how they expect, okay, we're expected to just pay something. If I'm getting it right, you just have to pay something by May 26th.
You're
Lorraine?
basically telling the bursar that I'm a warm body and I'm here. And so I'm gonna pay this small amount of money, and then they don't charge you $100 late fee. So pay a small amount of money. And then by the end of, well, I don't know exactly when that fee payment deadline is, but whenever it is for the summer, the real deal, the drop dead deadline, then you need to pay the full amount of fees. And what we're saying is that you'll see a big number in there until your tuition waiver clears.
So
I have a question. So how much that we have to pay for the summer, for the session? By May 26th, like if I want to pay full, how much I have to pay?
8196 times six.
I'm saying that because I see on my account, they charge me like 737.64. It's the one that I see on my account.
That's for fall and spring. The 737.64
Are you enrolled right
is
now,
fall
or-
and spring.
When is your first enrollment date?
It's for the summer. So what is the amount that I see on my account? So that I show you as well.
How many credits are you taking? How many did you
I
enroll
didn't
in?
have any classes yet, but I probably take 6 hours, 6 credit hours this semester.
And that fee number hasn't changed to my knowledge, so, you know, the number you're paying is 6 times 80.
Oh, okay,
That is the 491.76.
Right.
So if that doesn't get cleared up, then check with Lorraine about it.
okay.
So as I'm taking 6 credit units this semester, I should be multiplying what I'm seeing on the screen, 5671 by 6, or is it still going to be by 9?
Correct, by 6 during the summer, which is, if you look down just a little bit where my cursor is now, 340.26 for summer, and 510 for fall and for spring.
Well, I see what I'm having here, but I'm thinking this is multiplied by 9, because I'm seeing multiplied by 9 credit hours, 9.
It is for the 510, that's for fall and spring semesters. For summer, it's multiplied by 6, which gives you the 340.
Okay.
Is that clear?
Yes, it is, but
Okay.
like I wouldn't like to dwell on it more. So just like you said, you suggested earlier, I'm going to still have to talk to Lorraine and probably Rose about it personally to get still more clarification about this. So I hope that's fine.
It sounds like, so just realize that we don't control, they call it the bursar, that's the office where you make the payments. So we don't control what is on your fee schedule, right? It may be that if the bursar is going to adjust it, have you signed up for credits? I don't know what, it's showing, but there may be what we call a default. So it may just populate with the larger number and it will correct itself. So just keep an eye on this, especially once you've gone through drop add, because really students can take 9 credits. So maybe it's just defaulting to like you're taking 9 credits. There's some reason. Seems like the math is right, but it's reading maybe a full course load or something. So it's probably going to adjust in the system once you finalize your number of credits that you've registered for, is what I imagine.
But again, recognize that you're gonna see a big number until your tuition waiver clears. So. Okay, moving right along. We don't need to deal with any of those things. Student learning outcomes, you can read through all of that. Every student is evaluated. Thesis, non-thesis, PhD, MS, whatever. If you're a graduate student, you're evaluated. There's a separate evaluation form for non-thesis students. There is then an evaluation form that is used for both MS thesis and PhD students. Those are found at your website. Lorraine has recently sent out the request for evaluations for current students. This would not apply to you. And you are evaluated annually at the end of spring semester. Okay, so you guys won't be evaluated until a year from now. All right, couple comments about supervisory committee. Again, you can read over their responsibilities, but every one of you will have one. Let's talk a little bit about what those look like. So for MS non-thesis, you must have only 2 members of the committee. You can have more, but a minimum of 2. And on one thing I thought about that I forgot to mention is for you who you're hoping to be able to start summer B. If you start summer B, you would only need to register for 3 credits. All these other folks, I think, are starting summer C effectively, which is the whole summer. And so you do the 6. So keep that in mind. And okay, so then we've got any master students who are thesis. You have a minimum of 3 members. They can all be from the agronomy department if you wish, or you need 2 members from agronomy, and then the 3rd member can be from any department that you wish. PhD, you need 4 members, and you must have what's called an external member. The external member is from any other department at the University of Florida other than agronomy. Okay. You and your major professor decide on the composition of the committee. If you decide to get a minor, you are majoring in agronomy and you decide to minor in soil, water, and ecosystem sciences, then you must have a member of the committee from the minor area on your committee. Okay. There's no requirement to minor. It is strictly up to you.
And I have a question. What if like my wife only in a PhD, like is that possible? For example, when I'm doing a PhD, for example, in agronomy, and I'm trying to do like at the same time another degree, a master's degree, for example, and the same thing related to this to the PhD. Is that possible here? I know some of the universities do that.
So there are possibilities about simultaneous degrees, but that's something that you would need to work out in significant detail with your advisor. Because if you're fulfilling the expectations of 2 different programs, that's going to have a significant impact on your time. Your boss might have something to say about that. So then you have to ask the question of, do I really want another degree, or do I simply want a minor in that area? So those are questions that we can't answer for you. Those are programmatic questions that you and your advisor have to deal with. We can find information for you once you kind of reach a consensus about it. We think this is what we'd like to do. Can we do it? We can then begin to get answers to those kinds of questions, but talk about it.
And typically, I know some of those programs, a lot of times they're like a professional program on top of like an MD and a master's in public health and a medical doctor. A lot of programs combine those. Sometimes a business degree and a law degree. A lot of times when you're doing a research degree, it is more the minor, because think about it, your major professor is probably not going to pay for because it usually takes additional time, especially if it's fields that are far apart. So minor is probably your better option, or considering what we call certificate programs. So there's a lot of graduate certificate programs that you can enroll in. They're separate credential, and they are more easily embedded or part of a PhD program, because it can be your electives, and usually that's 12 credits. It's not an entire degree program. So I would encourage you to look at those.
There's all kinds of rules about what you can count.
Yeah.
If you're doing 2 degrees, there would be, it would be a challenge to figure out, not just to execute. Okay. If you wish to have an external member, you may, as a PhD student. That is someone who has a doctoral degree but is not at the University of Florida. And so, some people have previous relationships with somebody that they would like to serve on their PhD committee, or they may, there may be, some rock star in their area of research that's at a different university, somewhere that they would like to have serve on their committee. That is possible. We can help you to figure that out, how to do it. It's pretty straightforward. I'm not going to bore you with the gory details, but if you decide you'd like to do that, then you just ask us and we'll help you get that sorted out, or you can go look in the handbook. Tell you how to do it. You can have a committee co-chair if you and your advisor decide that's a good idea. All right. Here's your committee appointment form. This is also available at the website. We suggest you fill out this form, include the UFIDs of the faculty that you wish to appoint to the committee. Send that form to me. I'll take a quick look at it. If I'm good with it, everything meets graduate school rules, then I'll send it on to Lorraine and she'll appoint the committee. Okay.
And I just wanted to provide just some input for Emily. Typically, people that are in the agroecology concentration with the project, it's usually around 12 credits in that I get more insistent about a committee, just because when you put it on the same time frame of a full-time student, it's about a semester, a little over a semester in. Since you're coming in with a certificate, you probably have a better idea what you want to do, hopefully, and like the committee stuff, so we can sit down and figure that out with you this first semester. That's not a problem.
Okay, so I said things you need to be working on or getting committee appointed, right? Program of study, this is the form 2. There are different forms here. Here are links. And those they're fillable forms and they're on the website, and as we talked about. What the program of study is basically it's effectively a contract that's up here. It's a minimum agreement between the graduate student and the supervisory committee, and it defines the coursework that you're going to take to get the degree. So basically, you've made a contract with your committee that I will take these courses, and once I take these courses, I will have met my obligation to you, the graduate committee, for the degree. What we do is that, again, many faculty do not know the requirements of the graduate school. So we encourage you after you and your advisor have drafted a form 2, that you send it to, in the case of agroecology, if Rose isn't on your committee, you send it to her to basically look at it and make sure it meets checks all the boxes. If you are MS thesis or PhD student, you send that to me and I will look at it. I'll also have Lorraine, another set of eyes, look at it. And we're not going to tell you what classes to take. That's not our job. We're simply looking to make sure that you have met all the requirements for the degree. We want you to know that now, not in your last term. That extra semester that you weren't counting on, that's not a good thing. And we don't want that, right? So if you give us the opportunity to provide you feedback, we'll take care of you. In terms of the form 2, we don't have, in agroecology, it's more structured curriculum. In, I don't know what you call it, but non-agroecology concentration thesis or PhD, it's rather unstructured. You have a lot of flexibility in terms of what classes you're going to take. That's between you, your major professor, and your committee. But the department does have a core curriculum requirement. Does not apply to agroecology. It applies to all thesis and PhD programs. So basically what the core curriculum requirement states is that during the course of your graduate program, if you're doing a PhD, we also take into account courses that you took during your master's. But during the course of your graduate career, whether that be you're now a master's student just starting, or you already have a master's and now you're starting a PhD, we expect that by the time you graduate with your degree from UF Agronomy Department, you will have at least one course in each of these 4 areas. Now, it turns out that for almost every student, you would have taken a course in at least 3 of those areas to be, as a matter of meeting your basic degree requirements. So, for example, I don't know of any student who gets a thesis, master's, or a PhD degree without having stats. Okay, you can have a stats course. So, yeah, check box. Breeding genetics and genomics. that would be the one that some of us, like my students, I'm a forage ecology and management person. My students will take a plant physiology or biochemistry course. They will take a plant ecology management nutrition course. They will take a stats course. So they basically for them, the core requirement is one course that they wouldn't have taken already. Okay. You guys that have master's degrees, any of those categories that were covered in your master's degree, that course serves to meet the core requirement for your degree here. Okay. We give you lists. These lists are not all inclusive. These are examples. If you find a course you'd like to take to meet the core requirement, and it is not on that list, just send me an email and say, Dr. Sommer, I'd like to take this course to meet my core requirement in whatever area. Is that okay? As long as it is reasonable, go for it. Okay. Courses that are highlighted count for major credit. If you're a master's student, you must have 12 credits of coursework in the major. Okay, you'll notice that there are some courses like biochem and IPM and down here in stats. Stats 6093. It has a different prefix, but it counts toward major. Okay? So just remember core requirements. I know we're going a little over, but we lost the time at the beginning. Let me just quickly mention that for those of you who have a master's degree that are starting a PhD, we will need to work with you to, so Lorraine, how do you handle that? I should know, but I don't. Do you just automatically apply for transfer of credits from the master's, or what is a student's responsibility in that regard?
With some of the changes that's been going through with that, I would like for the students to like send me something and say, hey, they're going for that. But usually from master's to PhD, if it's UF masters within the discipline,
No problem.
no problem. But if it's outside of UF or outside of discipline, we have to do the transfer petition and then probably also another petition if it's outside of the discipline.
Okay.
So we have to do two.
So if you have an earned master's degree, you're starting a PhD program, make a note for yourself sometime for a month from now, whatever, sometime, not Monday. And send an email to Lorraine and ask her about credit transfer. So how does that work? Typically with an earned master's, the graduates, this is not it's not the department school, it's a graduate school. You can count up to 30 credits from your master's degree toward the 90 that you need for the PhD. Okay. But we have to petition the graduate school to accept credits. We don't petition specific courses. We just petition a block of 30 credits. Okay. You don't need to petition this stats course and this biochem course. No. Block, 30 credits. They'll look at your transcript. I have no idea how they do it. They'll come up with a number. The number might be 24. The number might be 27. The number might be 30. I don't know if they roll dice. I'm joking. I don't know how they come up with that number, but they'll give you a number for how many credits they're going to give you to count toward the PhD. And then you subtract that number from 90, and that's how many credits you have to have from the University of Florida to get the degree. Okay, so if you're starting master's program, none of that's relevant.
The only thing for Emily is she has to petition to get her certificate credits into the.
So that's the non-degree, so yeah, that's pretty simple, or
Okay.
whatever,
But, yeah.
so I still have to do, but send me an email so that I'll have it.
Yeah,
And then we can do the transfer credits for your certificate towards the the degree.
Thank you.
Okay, so if I'm understanding that what Solin just said, that means because I got my master's in Nigeria, so I could actually mail Lorraine and send her my transcripts, asking for credit transfer. Can I do that?
All
Is that
you
what you
need-
mean?
You don't need to send her any transcript. She has access to all of that. You just
Okay.
need, you're just reminding her that that will need to petition to have, you haven't earned a master's, is correct?
Yes, I have a master's already.
Okay, right. So she would just petition. She will take care of doing the petition. It's mainly just a matter of you giving her a reminder to file that petition. So sometime in a few weeks to a month, send her an email, put it on your calendar. And then she'll file that petition. And the thing I was going to mention is that it takes a very long time for those petitions to clear, sometimes as long as 1 year. Believe it or not, that's true. Is that a problem? Not really. So let me just give you a quick example. So as a student audit assistantship, you take 24 credits every year. Very few PhD students get finished in 3 years, but if they do, that's 72 credits. So you only need 18 to count, really. Yeah, I don't think I've ever seen one that was less than 18. But most of our students do 3.5 years to get a PhD or something like that. Okay, so don't worry about it. We just have to do it. But don't worry about what the number is going to come back as. Go ahead and proceed with your Form 2 and figure out what courses you're going to take. And you can even assume that number is going to be 30, and don't worry about it. We'll be notified eventually, okay? And then we'll let you know what they decided. And if we need to add a few credits to your program of study as research credits or whatever, that's fine. Make sure you get all of the coursework you want to take on that Form 2.
I have a question.
Yes.
So if, for example, I transfer some of my credits, for example, I transfer 30 credits, I left like 60 credits of, I would say, of course, of 60 credit hours that going toward the PhD. So how many classes should I have to take out of the 60 credits?
Dr. Ian.
Okay.
I'm sorry. Please, can you repeat your question? Because
Right.
I can't really hear you.
Right, so the question was, let's say you get 30 credits, the graduate school decides that you're going to transfer 30 credits in from your master's. So you're now the proud owner of 30 credits toward your PhD. Of the 60 that remained, the question was how many credits of that 60 need to be coursework versus research credits? And the answer was that is at the discretion of your major advisor, your major advisor, and your graduate committee. There is no other, the department will only check to see that you have the correct total number of credits and that you've met the core requirement. But other than that, it's up to your committee, you and your committee.
But you were saying, Lynn, and maybe I'm wrong, that they're going back to the maximum number of research credits that can apply.
Doesn't apply to the PhD.
Okay. All right.
Right.
So for the
Sure.
master's, you can only count 6.
Yeah.
You might have 30, but only 6 of them
Okay.
count toward your 30. So you need 24 credits
But PhD, it doesn't
for
matter.
PhD.
No.
See, I learned something.
Also, I want to add, guys, on the transfer credits in the petition. I'm not able to even submit a petition until you guys have all of your official transcripts and your official final transcripts and your official final degree from your institution to the admissions office. If that's not there, I can't even do a petition until all that has been taken care of. So my advice to that is the next, as soon as you can, start, if you haven't done that, start working with your institution to make sure that those final documents are sent to the Office of Admissions. And it has to be the official ones. It can't be a copy. It has to come directly from your institution to the University Office of Admissions.
So that, and just to reinforce, so that means in countries where they only issue one official document, that is the document you hand carry to the office, and you wait until they review it. You tell them, I need this, you cannot take it from me, because you will not get it back if you give it to them. So you wait there, and you can make an appointment. They will review it, and they'll hand you back that document. If you leave that office without getting that document, you will never get that document back. They assume you can get a second copy.
And even if you wanted it, but you wouldn't want it back because it's just gonna be stamped all over everywhere and stuff. So yeah, make sure they give you yours back, like she said.
So and that, that is the hardest thing for, so if you don't present that document within the first semester, you will not be able to continue at UF.
We'll have to,
Yeah.
we'll have
yeah.
to. petition.
Yeah, petition, but yeah, it's not something eventually that has to be shown. So, again, if you're at a research and education center, it sounds like you will need to come to Gainesville with those documents, or unless you've mailed them already. And that, yeah, so it just depends on your situation. We can talk about that.
Also,
I think my transcripts, my degree certificates, I think they were already uploaded. I think you should be able to have access to those. Do I need to still print it out and bring them to Gainesville? I don't know if that's.
the admissions office will be able to tell you if you have official final transcripts or your official final degree on file with them. And if not, they will let you know.
I have to contact them because I already uploaded all that already uploaded all that.
Uploading a document typically is not an official. If you had your institution mailing it with the original seal, that is official.
Yes.
But you uploading it in a computer does not make it official.
Right. And also, if you guys have those official documents sent to you by mail, don't open the envelope. Leave the envelope sealed and walk it over to them, and they will open the envelope. But if that envelope is open that comes from your institution, it doesn't matter if their address is there, a stamp on the outside of that envelope or anything, they will not accept it as an official document. That they want to open it. That document. So do not open the envelopes that get sent to you.
Yeah, I have a last question that is more related to me. Is that a general question? So what if I have a transcript? I have a transcript that transferred to UF, like it's been like 2 years ago. If they can consider it's an official transcript, if they consider this transcript, you have to do that again.
Is it from a US institution?
No, it's from like back to Haiti. I transferred my transcript or my official transcript to UF. It's 2 years ago. So do I have to do that again?
So you weren't a student here before, were you?
No, I applied.
You just applied.
I just applied and I sent everything. I sent the official transcript. So do I have to redo it again?
Is it the transcript or the diploma?
The transcript.
You can just ask.
Yeah,
I don't know. I
you
don't
have to
think.
ask
Yeah.
them.
Okay.
No, I'm getting this. This document this transcript is because the official one is because we want to be able to use it to do the credit transfer. Yes.
It's to verify.
Yes, and it is a requirement it's a requirement to do transfer credits, and it's just the University of Florida admissions office requirement also. They have to have that information on file
And they have to have, it's basically every institution that's
Yes.
accredited in the US is going to ask you for an official. Because that's the only way that they can determine with confidence that you actually earned a degree. And that applies to even US students. It's not just
Yeah.
international,
Right.
right? Because, you know, with all of the ways in which you can make fake documents today, you know, we've all been subject to that. That's the only way they do it.
Yeah, you can't graduate without,
Right.
without those documents being there, and they have time limits in terms of when they need to be submitted, and so, yeah, just a good plan to check with admissions and see if they're lacking anything, whatever you're lacking, we'll get to work on it. Okay, program of study, again, so there are examples here, not going to go through them, but there are separate programs of study for agroecology, and then for I think the one, I don't remember if we have a separate MS thesis versus PhD, but again, website, fillable forms, they're there. Find them. This is the form that we would expect, as you know, we don't want a paper napkin with your courses on them. We want the fillable form. And so it's all there. You can find it online. I'm not, and you know, again, the requirements are elaborated, but if you have questions, let me know. I'll help you to determine if you've met the requirements. I don't give it specific advice on coursework. That's up between you and your advisor. All right. We have some opportunities in the department if you're interested in a career in industry as opposed to academia. So check those out if you're interested. All PhD students are required to file an individual development plan. We like to have these by the end of your first semester. If you're starting in summer, you know, we'll give you to the fall, get them done. But there's a form, again, there's a link right there, but there's a form online, a fillable form for an individual development plan. Basically, it is a conversation that you and your advisor have relative to your career goals, as well as a self-assessment of where you are in kind of your progression toward being ready to achieve that career goal. What are your strengths, your weaknesses? And then you and your advisor develop a plan for the next year for addressing those weaknesses. You know, I'm not very good at public speaking. Okay, so we're going to find a way to put you in front of an audience as much as possible to help you develop those skills. So IDP is required by the graduate school on an annual basis. So along with an annual evaluation, if you are a PhD student, if you're a master's student, if you're a PhD student, you must complete an IDP annually. Okay. After you do the first one, it's more just a matter of updating it. So it's not a huge time commitment. And for information on non-thesis, I'm just looking for an excuse to keep scrolling. There's information there on all kinds of, degree programs. So it would be helpful, if you're a non-thesis program, read over that page. If you're a thesis program, read over that page. PhD program, read over that page. Okay, or more than one page. There's some information on combined joint or dual degrees. Take a look at that. I think that would be most typical in a master's situation. This is information about finishing. We could go over it, but you wouldn't remember any of it. So it's there. If you're interested, read all about it. List of all the graduate courses in the department, as best as we can tell when they're offered, but you may want to check on that. For example, here's my class. I'm actually teaching it right now. Research Techniques and Forage Evaluation, offered Summer C, odd numbered years. 2023, Summer C. Here we go. All right. All the coursework, like all the courses, certificate information is there. And then there's somewhere down here, there's a links for scholarships. If you're interested, the graduate school does offer scholarships for graduate students. Fairly simple application process. You're too late for this year, but keep in mind next spring. If you know, always they're not, you know, they're not $20,000, but you know, it might be 1,000, might be 2,000, which you know might cover your fees for the entire year, perhaps. You know, so think about that. They are merit based, so typically you have a greater chance of success. Obviously, if you do well, but maybe a greater chance of success later in your program after you have a publication or you've presented or you have some milestones that you met, but it never hurts to apply. Travel scholarships, all kinds of other information. Faculty list is there, contacts, so done. Questions?
Another question, I would like to know, or can I check the classes, the available classes online?
So,
where should I-
and I wanted to talk to you about this. So this,
Good.
so you can do schedule, you can just do either go to your one UF or just do a Google search UF schedule of courses. That's what I did, UF schedule of courses. And you can search by semester. You know, there's a bunch of drop-down menus. You can, you'll say on campus online classes, and then you can do it by the semester, say summer. And it'll list, you have to know the department, you know, so you can either search by department, you can search by the session in the summer, A and B. If you know it's AGR, you can put the actual course number and see if it pops up. If it doesn't pop up, it's not offered. So play around with it and you can kind of see. The most important thing is that every student, you know, just like we have many students in places, each student has a different code associated with the type of student they are. So you're an on-campus PhD student. You're, I think, an EEP student, which we're gonna have to change to on campus probably. You're not really the way we're gonna classify you will be different since you're in Gainesville. If you're at a research and education center, you're a research and education center student. And when you register, it's really important. If you'll register through, we'll talk about a form. There's a link, a Qualtrics link that Lorraine sends you, and you'll request any of the agronomy courses through that link, through Lorraine. And you'll tell her what kind, there's a checkbox, what kind of student you are. So it's really important to know what kind of student you are. For some students, like the students that are like Emily, if you're in an agroecology concentration, you always go through me and Lorraine because we have to hook you up to the right person so that you get registered in the right section. If you're a research and education center student, same thing, you need to make sure you're in the research and education center section, or else your fees will not be that $56. So it all is driven by your code. Is driven by how much you pay or you don't pay. Okay, so that's why it's really important to make sure you're in the proper section.
But they don't deal with that.
Yes, they do deal with it if they go and attempt to register, because sometimes you can go ahead and you can register yourself. So they need to know where they sit.
Not for
agronomy,
agronomy, I register everybody.
Yeah, but I'm saying, if you have an entomology class, you may be able to, in some classes, you can get in there and register yourself, but you still may be in the wrong section. So it's better to clear it, to make sure you're being directed.
I was actually, yeah, so Lorraine handles registration. And the reason she handles registration is because of the complexity that Rose just talked about. Because it's a mess. It's very complicated because we have students at RECs that, you know, that they do this, and we have EEP that does this, and we have it. there's so many different categories, all for the same class. So there are multiple sections that relate to your particular situation. And so, yeah, so I was going to show you. So just, I just Googled UF Agronomy. So let's click on there. And then let's go to, let's see, where,
It's probably
Check your
under
menu,
students.
students.
okay.
And then go down.
And so then we scroll down. It's a little different look than what I'm used to seeing, but at any rate,
And
uh.
go to graduate main page.
Yeah, graduate.
Okay,
yeah.
graduate main page,
And then scroll down.
and then
Click
current students,
Mhm.
right?
Scroll down.
And then here are all those
the
forms. So we have a registration request form. So whenever registration is open and you're allowed to register, you, every semester, every term, you access that form. And here it is. And you put your first and last name, your UFID, your email address, what program you're enrolled in. This helps Lorraine get you into the right section, which best describes your situation. You on campus, REC, whatever holds, and then you list the courses you want to register for. And Lorraine will. And then there's information here if you're
So
trying to
the-
register
yeah,
for courses in
this will
another
cut, yeah.
department.
Yeah, that,
Just this, I'm sorry, I'm going to interrupt you, Solin. Please, you did talk about indicating if you're main camp students, if you're in the education center. Yeah, when I sent Lorraine the course to register, I didn't indicate in the section. I think if you should scroll up, if you should scroll it up a little bit, I think I could really show you where I'm making reference to. I didn't indicate that I'm in the research center when I imputed the course she was going to register. So I don't know if that's a problem or it's something she could rectify or could just go along with it.
I think that's the way, is that the way the fees are?
Yes,
Your
that's how
fees
the
would be
fees are
determined,
driven.
so
Yeah.
yes, it is important if you're an REC.
so,
Okay.
so if you didn't do it this time, just send an email to Lorraine, she'll make note of it. We can change it. It's just, you have to look in and make sure you're in the right section. It can be changed. It's just
Yeah.
fill that out, so we, because that's the only way we know what section. And just the list of people there, so if these courses are out of the department, it gives you the contact name. I mean, a lot of times students will put down or tell us we want to register in soils, and I will connect them to Mike. Some of the departments have a similar form and you'll fill out, others you're just gonna deal with, like Mike says, which you have already.
Yes.
So, but always come, especially if you're agroecology, I always help register because I don't want students, if they're in the wrong section, then we get, the dean will call us and people are checking to make sure everybody's got the right code.
So then once you fill out the form, you just click send and it goes to a dedicated mailbox that Lorraine has that's just for registration, separate from her regular email. And so it's a good way for her to organize her tasks so that everything registration related is a separate box.
Okay,
Other
so
questions?
I'm just supposed to send Lorraine a mail about to insert it in my section, or is she supposed to send me another mail, a link that I could re-register the same course, but this time around insert that the WREC sent.
So in this case, you're talking about just getting you into the right section as an REC student.
Exactly.
Just send an email to Lorraine in a regular email
Yeah,
and just mention
that you're at REC.
that you're an REC and could you
Check
please
it.
check to make sure you're in the right section? You don't need to fill out this form again. Yeah,
All right, thank you.
all right. Any other questions?
Yes, what you referred to earlier today, I think, we have different understanding of what's going on there. So what you showed me, what Mike really showed me today is that he was in that one UApp system, he was, there's a charge for $766 or something like that for insurance.
Yes.
That was a little bit confusing to me and him, so if you could, I'm not sure if he can just contact you at a later time on Monday or something. If you could work on that issue with him, because I was totally not
Okay,
able to.
and that's where, I'll put you in contact with them. If you're not in the UF where you can go ahead and enroll in insurance, yeah, I'll give you the information to contact the insurance, the Grad Gator insurance ones, and let them know that you haven't got into the UF system yet, and then they will work with you on what they need to do to get that taken off for you. To waive that, I think what they do is just waive that for that time until you are in the system and you can enroll.
But there's two, so that's what I'm saying, when I mentioned Gator Grad Care, that is the one thing that messes most students up. You usually get an email that says that this is the enrollment time. Irregardless of whether you can, all the paperwork has been filled out. Their deadline is their deadline, make sure you enroll. Because if you don't enroll in Gator Grad Care, they will enroll you outside of the period and you will get charged. So just make sure, I mean, once you get your graduate assistantship, that those payments should be covered under that assistantship.
The first term is really confusing. It's a mess because you're not in the system. You know, the sequencing of various things that you're supposed to do gets messed up because you're not yet in the system, but you're supposed to have insurance, you're supposed to get immunizations, but you don't have insurance, and you're supposed to get paid, but you're not in your waiver. Yeah, so it's messy.
So I can address, I don't know if it applies to you, but there are some international, I'm assuming, students. I do have an answer about the insurance question. Okay, and it links to Gator Grad Care. So what I called, there's an office, and this is an office you should know in case you have some issue with like Gator Care, Grad Care immunization. It's the Office of Health Compliance. And so those vaccinations are required if you're going to be on an assistantship and you're going to get onto Gator Grad Care. The advantage of coming to Gainesville, if you're afar, or if you are in Gainesville, you make an appointment and you go to the Student Health Center. They'll take down your information, there's forms you'll fill out you'll say Gator Grad Care insurance, or you'll give them your UFID. They will give you that immunization. They will not charge, you will get charged, your insurance company will get charged, but you can leave there with the vaccination, a sore arm, and no out-of-pocket expense, like you won't be paying. And what will happen is you eventually, she said it takes usually 30 days and there will be a bill. And usually that coincides with when you get your insurance. So eventually there are steps you're gonna have to take to pay for that through your insurance. But if you go through the Student Health Center, it's a way of getting those immunizations and not having to pay. But she said, make sure you sign up. They're going to check to make sure that you were covered by insurance when you got that appointment. So, and that's going to align to when your grad appointment starts. And I'm not sure when they officially start summer appointments. Is it Monday? Sometimes it's a different day than when they can start classes. Are they actually on appointment?
May 15th.
Yeah, the 15th.
That's Monday.
Yeah, so if you've gotten your vaccinations already, it won't be covered on Gator Grad Care. If you wait till, it sounds like after the 15th, you can go in, get your immunizations, and eventually your employment record is going to show that you were employed and you can use it. So
But only at the Student Health Center.
the center. So if you go to a pharmacy, you're going to have to pay out of pocket. You're gonna have to pay for it, and you'll have a mess trying to get reimbursement for that potentially. So it would behoove you, it'd be best if you can somehow get to Gainesville potentially to get your vaccinations, because it'll give you some time between getting your first paycheck and having to put out any money, and it's gonna be an internal. It's easier sometimes to negotiate with UF on these things than it is like a CVS drugstore.
So those of you who have no further questions, feel free to leave the
Sorry.
meeting, either physically or
Okay,
online.
just to react to what Rose just said. Yeah, coming to Gainesville, I don't know, it's actually not quite easy for us here at J, because so much stuff to do here and all. But I just want to ask if it's possible to wait until the Egaro Care comes on board. And then if it comes on board, does it mean, since it's the medical insurance we've been waiting for, does it mean you can only be using it only in Gainesville? Can't we, does it mean it doesn't cover any pharmacy area here in Milton? So
You could, okay, so you know what, the best source of information is not this group when it comes to insurance. There is a website for Gator Grad Care. Call that number. You know, you have to call them, or you can send them an email, just like I just called them, and they will provide you with information. You know, so that is the source of information, and the health compliance office is the source of information. And the reason why it's not that I don't want to share my knowledge, but when it comes to things that are associated with the bursar's office or insurance, you do not want to do not rely on me, do not rely on Lynn or Lorraine or your fellow students or your major professors. You go to the source of the information and you get the documentation and the answers from those individuals, because they will keep you out of trouble. Everyone else is not an expert.
Okay, Lorraine, please, you could just send a link to whoever we have to contact. I suppose, I think I'll be reaching out to you a lot this weekend, so we could get something sorted, but yeah.
Yes, I will go ahead and send the Gator Care telephone contact phone number and their email address, that you can call them and talk to them about the insurance.
And one thing that I will say is that, I mean, we as faculty get frustrated, Lorraine gets frustrated. We're in a large state institution, right? Again, it's a privilege to be here, it's a privilege to work here. One of the challenges of a large institution is that there's a, you know, getting personalized service for every question, it just will not happen. You will wait and wait. You have to be proactive, you have to do the computer searches, you have to look for, just like I said, you have scheduled courses. It'll pop up in a Google search. Just make sure it says ufl.edu after all these, or else you'll be scammed, you'll be paying something. So look at the email address and make sure when somebody sends you something that it's coming from ufl.edu. Never will anyone ask you to provide any kind of personal financial information, social security cards. Nothing like that should ever be asked of you from a UFL website. No one. If you ever see anything like that, you send it to like the help desk, or you look and see is that ufl.edu. It won't be. So make sure you're always going to official website, and it's your job. I mean, I hate to say it, it's part of the responsibility of being a graduate student, and more importantly, like Dr. Sollenberger said, you are employed. You're a graduate student, but you're also this is employment. So part of it is just finding out the information. Like, I have to decide what benefits do I want, you know, I have to make those choices too. So it's just being an adult, I guess. Sometimes.
Yes, I agree with you, but I just would like to just chip in that at least special consideration should be given to us in Milton, because we're not in campus. If we're in campus, I suppose things would probably be much easier for us. So I don't know. That's
Try to negotiate with your major professor to send you here in a state truck and meet with a prospective faculty member who might serve on your committee.
Yeah.
And while you're here, have an appointment to get your vaccinations.
Yeah. they should be accommodating you and helping you at those research and education centers. So, you know, we're all here on the same team, you know, to help. But, you know, ask, you know, if you ask respectively and it's reasonable, and it really is, you know, if you find yourself at a research and education center and you haven't spent any time on campus, that's really, I don't think, in the best interest of you as a student. So it's reasonable to ask, can I share a ride, or can I get somehow to campus? I've got to do all these things the first week, because there are a lot of things. And certainly if that faculty member has any questions, we can confirm that, yeah, you know, you may have to bring documents, you have to get these vaccinations.
As a faculty member, that's part of the cost of doing business.
Yeah.
You know, if you're gonna have graduate students, you're gonna have to deal with immigration issues and, you know, various issues. So that's just part of the deal.
Yeah.
So, any other questions?
I just have one last question. You mentioned multiple times 60 days for that insurance, counting from when?
The
Since
date
when you
of,
start as an
the date of
employee,
hire.
so May
they said that they,
15th would be the date for summer seat. Yeah,
again, what date?
May 15th,
May
which is
15th.
Monday.
All right, just wanted to make sure, because I, for my own, we had to go through the same thing, right? And I thought that it's gonna be counting from when I'm gonna go through the core HR and all those things. So I myself missed that deadline. So I know in what people you may get, if
Yeah.
you're not counting correctly.
Yeah. When you get that email, it'll tell you, you know, make sure you just really pay attention, and always ask questions for clarification.
Thank you.
And this, you know, this isn't your last opportunity to ask us questions, so please, you know, let us know. We'll try to help you or refer you to the people we can. We don't make the rules. We try to help you work around the rules or within the rules or follow the rules. But, you know, our hands are tied to some extent, so.
And last question, does the graduate student have I can say, I have an office already, I'm just asking, does the graduate student have an office here? For example, if I'm taking classes here, for example, I'm a TA here, so does I have an office here at this building or wherever? Because I know my office is.
Bethany does it. Bethany McLean handles
In the
the
front,
type of
in the
information.
front office, so you got Bethany,
Yes,
okay, yeah, so talk to her about getting a desk assignment.
okay.
Okay, I just want to say thank you, because I know we probably towards the end of this session. I just want to thank you because some of my worries were kind of a little bit, there was an advanced effort, conscious effort to try to help me through with it. Though there's still a lot that still has to be done, but I would like to use this opportunity to plead with Lorraine, because I would definitely have to be contacting you a lot, you know, and maybe through Michelle, because Michelle here is also helping us quite well to see how we get some things sorted out, because it's not actually easy for us in Milton here. But yeah, thank you very much for this session. It was quite impactful, you know, much information was given. So yeah, I really appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Very good. We all good?
You're welcome.
Anything else? All right. Oh, go ahead, Nina.
Just a quick question related to the transcripts. Does it also apply for those who are starting the master students, like to bring them physically to the main campus?
If they do not have, it's any degree program, yes, so if they do not have you know, an official transcript, you know, they will need one. So since you're still there at your home university, it would be worthwhile to find out what you need to carry with you when you arrive here.
Yeah, because I was just a little lost because I already received my I-20 to ask for a visa, but
Yeah,
I
that
had
does-
to send the unofficial transcripts to the UF, but I already received the I-20, so I was a little lost. I thought it should be sent before, but I already received that. I think they will ask me, the University of Florida, later for the official.
You can be admitted based on those unofficial documents, but you have to present those official documents in order to proceed through the degree program. So
Okay.
definitely, I assume it relatively easy at your university at this moment to get access to those documents since you're there physically. So that would be a good thing to do before you head this way.
Okay, thank you.
And just do the same thing, go on to the UF, do UF Graduate School admissions. And you can search for international students. So there's a section for international students and it tells you all the documentation that you need. You know, from application, which you've already done, to, you know, getting accepted and what you're gonna need to physically bring. And it's in those instructions that it will tell you what you have to do to have that official documentation, what they accept.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, very good. Sorry, this is going long. I'm gonna blame you for some of it. I'll make the blame for 10 minutes of it for our problems at the beginning, but after that. So anyway,
At the end of the day, you know, good luck. I mean, congratulations.
Yeah,
This is an exciting time
it's
and,
exciting.
and good luck. And, you know, we're here to help.